Biographical sketch of James Russell Lowell. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Biographical sketch of James Russell Lowell by Nathan Haskell Dole. In the year 1639, Percival Lowell, or Lowell, a merchant of Bristol, England, landed at the little seaport town of Newbury, Massachusetts. We generally speak of a man's descent. In the case of James Russell Lowell's ancestry, it was rather an ascent through 8 generations. Percival Lowell's son, John Lowell, was a worthy cooper in old Newbury. His great-grandson was a shoemaker. His great-great-grandson was the Reverend John Lowell of Newburyport, the father of the Honorable John Lowell, who was regarded as the author of the clause in the Massachusetts Constitution abolishing slavery. Judge Lowell's son, Charles, was a Unitarian minister, learned, saintly, and discreet. He married Miss Harriet Trail Spence of Portsmouth, a woman of superior mind, of great wit, vivacity, and an impetuosity that reached eccentricity. She was of Celtic blood, of a family that came from the Orkneys, and claimed descent from the Sir Patrick Spens of the grand old ballad. Several of her family were connected with the American Navy. Her father was Keith Spence, purser of the frigate Philadelphia, and a prisoner at Tripoli. By ancestry on both sides, and by connections with the Russells and other distinguished families, Lowell was a good type of the New England gentleman. He was born on the 22nd of February, 1819, at Elmwood, not far from Brattle Street, Cambridge. The 3-storied colonial mansion of wood was built in 1767 by Thomas Oliver, the last royal lieutenant governor before the Revolution. Like other houses in Tory Row, it was abandoned by its owners. Soon afterwards it came into possession of Elbridge Gerry, governor of Massachusetts and 5th Vice President of the United States, whose memory and name are kept alive by the term gerrymander. It next became the property of Dr. Lowell about a year before the birth of his youngest child, and it was the home of the poet until his death. Lowell's early education was obtained mainly at a school kept nearly opposite Elmwood by a retired publisher, an Englishman, Mr. William Wells. He also studied in the classical school of Mr. Daniel G. Ingraham in Boston. He was graduated from Harvard College in the class of 1838. He is reported as declaring that he read almost everything except the class books prescribed by the faculty. Lowell says in one of his early poems referring to Harvard, "Though lightly prized the ribboned parchments 3, yet collegisse juvat, I am glad that here what colleging was mine I had." He was secretary of the Hasty Pudding Society, and one of the editors of the college periodical, Harvardiana, to which he contributed various articles in prose and verse. His neglect of prescribed studies and disregard of college discipline resulted in his rustication just before commencement in 1838. He was sent to Concord, where he resided in the family of Barzillai Frost, and made the acquaintance of Emerson, then beginning to rouse the ire of conservative Unitarianism by his transcendental philosophy, of the brilliant but overestimated Margaret Fuller, who afterwards severely criticized Lowell's verse, and of other well-known residents of the pretty town. He had been elected poet of his class. His removal from college prevented him from delivering the poem, which was afterwards published anonymously for private distribution. It contained a satire on abolitionists and reformers. "I know the village," he writes long afterwards in the person of Hosea Biglow, Esquire. "I know the village, though, was sent there once a schoolin', 'cause to home I played the dunce." On his return to Cambridge, he took up the study of law, and in 1840 received the degree of LL.B. He even went so far as to open an office in Boston, but it is a question whether there was any actual basis of fact in a whimsical sketch of his entitled "My First Client," published in the short-lived Boston Miscellany, edited by Nathan Hale. Several things engrossed Lowell's attention to the exclusion of law. Society at Cambridge was particularly attractive at that time. Alston, the painter, was living at Cambridgeport. Judge Story's pleasant home was on Brattle Street. The Fays then occupied the house which has since become the seat of Radcliffe College.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?